The genesis of this was an idea we had several years ago about the value of telling the story from an adult perspective through the eyes of the grown-up Christopher Robin and figuring out what were the value of these characters now in adulthood. Of course, it was my belief that these characters, Pooh and friends, are as relevant to us as adults as they are to kids. So it was a fun idea, I thought, to be able to tell the story through his perspective. I think people can expect to find something that is simultaneously very authentic to who these characters are, and that they will be rewarded in terms of what they expect, but also they'll find something new because we're able to tell it through a new lens.
Can you talk a little bit about the qualities that particularly Haley and Ewan have as performers that made them such a great lens to tell this story through?
Yeah, I think that they're both, first of all, just tremendous actors, and I think that they brought this tremendous passion to their roles. For Ewan, who had the task of both showing the world-weary middle-aged Christopher Robin, who'd been saddled with much responsibility and distractions, we needed to be able to see that and feel for him. We also needed to see the joys of childhood as they returned to him through the course of the story. And so both of those qualities were really important, and he was amazing at bringing both of those things to light.
Talk a little bit about the visual style of the characters that we see in this film and the importance of bringing, I guess, Jim back as well as the voice of Winnie.
Oh, absolutely. Jim was vital because we wanted to have everyone recognize who these characters were, and Jim, for the last 30 years, has been the voice of Pooh and Tigger as well. So that was vital for us to bring him back. The look of the characters is very much inspired by who Pooh was. Originally, this was a stuffed bear that sat on the bed of a young boy. And we saw those beautiful illustrations by Shepard in the original books, and then we saw that wonderful interpretation in Disney animation. And so the idea to bring a photoreal version of that vintage teddy bear to life was a really fun idea, and we wanted to create something that you felt was both familiar but also very authentic to what a real stuffed animal is. I really love a moment where Christopher Robin is essentially apologizing to Pooh for the things that he thinks he's falling short with, and that Pooh is there with the ultimate level of acceptance, and that Christopher is able to let go of a lot of things that might have been burdening him. And for me, it was a very cathartic moment and a beautiful and emotional moment.
Of course, fans will love to see these characters back on the biggest screen possible. The question they'll obviously have is, are there going to be more adventures like this? Do you think that this is a self-contained adventure, or is it something that could have sequels if it goes the way we hope it will?
I think, first of all, that we were, the importance was to make this film the best it could be. I think that Winnie the Pooh has been a character who's lived for generations, and I have no reason to believe that there won't be more stories from Winnie the Pooh.
Fans are also very excited about your next project, Lady and the Tramp, for many people a firm childhood favourite. What can they expect from this new big screen version of that story?
Well, again, we're going to be so loyal because we respect the source material so much. But we also, in telling that story in a live-action context, find that there's ways sometimes to sort of deepen a theme or to make sure that it feels as relevant for today's audience as it would have felt in 1955. So we feel like that's our task, and it's a tremendous responsibility, but one that we really relish having. Lady and the Tramp, I feel like the heart of that story is about acceptance of one another. It's a beautiful love story, ultimately, between people from different worlds. And there are ideas that both get passed in terms of what they think the world is like, and they're able to have this sort of exchange of gifts between each other and find this life together. So for us, that was the sort of the great idea at the center of it all.
As a reintroduction of the Winnie the Pooh characters, I think you'll find that there's everything that you knew from childhood, but there's also this little fresh twist, because in the past, Christopher Robin has always helped all of these characters, but now it's their turn to help him. So they have kind of a sense of problem solving and urgency about helping someone they love.
What is the magic of Winnie the Pooh, and why do you think the world needs it so much right now?
I think the magic of Winnie the Pooh is that it awakens the heart space within each one of us. And as we were making this film, our intention was to really awaken that in the characters, awaken it in Christopher Robin. He's kind of separated from his family and his daughter. And hopefully that message would go out in the world, because once we find our own heart space, it activates the heart around us. Ewan was immediately the right fit. I've watched Mark interact with actors often, and when that click happens between actor and director. Ewan knew immediately what he was going to put into the core of this character, and from that moment forward, from just the first meeting, Mark and he were this really tight collaboration. But Ewan knew what kind of metamorphosis he was going to deliver through this character, how the character was going to come back to his family and back to his heart.
You mentioned Mark, obviously your creative partner. Can you talk a little bit about what he's like as a director, what makes him such a very special voice behind the camera?
One thing, or many things make Mark a great creative partner and also a brilliant director. I think if I had to just say three things, he is a dream to work with on set. He's the most collaborative, one of the most collaborative people I know. He is very, very attentive to detail, and he's just deeply passionate about what he does, so that translates in everything you see on screen.
It's really exciting being here in London on the red carpet. It's really, really fun. And
for people who haven't seen the film yet, can you tell us a little bit about where your character fits into the story, the adventure?
Well, Christopher Robin's just work all the time, and his daughter, she's sort of almost trying to take him away from that, like Evelyn, his wife, is doing. And she meets the characters, and obviously she doesn't know them because he doesn't tell her a lot about himself. So she's basically meeting them and going to save her dad, basically.
Obviously your dad's played by Ewan McGregor and your mom, Hayley Atwell. What was it like working with Ewan and Hayley?
Well, I've said quite a lot. They're really friendly, and they'll give the important message out that it's really important just to do nothing sometimes. And great, they're really great working with, and it was just a dream come true working with them and Mark and everyone.
Of course, you're holding Piglet there. I'm curious, why do you think Winnie the Pooh and all of these characters mean so much to so many people? Why do people love these characters so much?
Well, everyone grew up with them, and they all have their they're different personalities, but they've stayed the same, like throughout all these years that people have grown up with them, and it's important that they give that message to many people when they're watching the film.
And when you look back on your time making the film, is there one memory that makes you smile the most, your happiest memory from set?
Probably working with everyone and all the different people working with. So one minute you'd be working with the readers and the animals, next minute you'd be working with the actors and then you'd be working with the directors and producers, and so it's all different, but it was all really great.
Of course, Mark is the director in charge of all of that. What was he like to work with as director? Did he give you any particularly good advice, any good tips for when he was working?
I definitely won't forget working with Mark, because he was really great, and he was always really focused on his work, and he was really nice and friendly. Yeah, I won't forget it, definitely.
A final question, do you have a message for all the Winnie the Pooh fans of all ages out there who can't wait for this film?
It's important to take the moral in, just sit there, be there in the moment when you're watching the film, and just have that message there forever,
Ewan McGregor has this incredible quality that you root for him. You want him to reconnect with his family. You want him to reconnect with his wife. And he has this incredible physical humor and comedy in him that makes it so fun to watch him with Pooh when Pooh does all these shenanigans he does.
I'm curious, can you talk about the decision to tell this story with an adult Christopher and a slightly older, familiar Winnie the Pooh family, rather than just doing a conventional live screen animation adaptation of more familiar stories?
It's very seldom that you get the opportunity to take a beloved character like this and do an original story, which is the fun of it. But at the same time, you incorporate all these Poohisms, and Pooh is about the heart. The red sweater stands for the heart, and it's like connecting with that heart and really telling a story that's about that. So for me, it's a classic Disney film that connects with children, with grown-ups, for everyone. It was important for me to find the right balance of humor, of emotion, of joy. And it's a film for kids and for grown-ups, because Pooh has so many Poohisms, so much philosophy, that it's for all. It's like a classic Disney film for an entire family. I hope that they take a way to feel and have the understanding how important it is to play, how important it is to be in touch with the inner child, and spend time with the people they love.
You're going to work with Ewan McGregor again on the cow. What can you tell us about it?
This is our second film for Ewan and me, and we're hopefully going to do more than just a cow. But the cow is basically Ewan McGregor was a cow instead of a bear. But the cow doesn't speak, so it's all him. He's going to do all the dialogue himself.
Why do you think the world still loves this character so much, and why does it need this character so badly?
Well, I think the attraction, the sort of evergreen attraction to Pooh is that they are evergreen. They're not attached to a fad. They're not necessarily on hoverboards, are they? We're wearing helmets. They're not punching in things to their iPhone. They came from bedtime stories, and they came from literature, and I think they're kind of attached in the way that to the people's hearts that Christmas might be. And you don't get tired of Christmas. It comes every year and you're fine with it. And for me, that's how the 100 Acre Wood is. It's not Christmas, it's not religious, but it is heartwarming.
Obviously, Pooh's a character we've always seen through quite childlike eyes, but in this film we're seeing it through an adult Christopher Robin's perspective. Can you talk about how that perhaps changes how we perceive these characters, this world?
Well, I think it's a beautiful reimagining. Mark Forster had a beautiful vision, and I hope we realized it. I think we did, and I think that's part of the charm. Actually, that's a great part of the charm, because at first Christopher is not too sure about this whole adventure, so I don't want to spoil it. So please watch, won't you?
Of course, Pooh's given us so many great Poohisms. I'm curious if you have favourites, particularly in this film. My final question.
Well, let's see. I always get to where I'm going by walking away from where I've been. So there you have it. And keep on bouncing. I got a kick out of the first meeting of Pooh and Christopher after all those years. And I thought it was funny that, Christopher thought, well, wait a minute, eventually he says, how did you even know it was me? I don't look the same. And I thought it was so sweet that he goes, sure you do. Inside, it's still you, Christopher. And it was like, even it got to me. I was like, oh gosh, so I hope folks love it.